Hello, everyone. You are listening to the C Squared podcast with Corey and Curtis and our co-host Aaliyah today, because as per usual, Curtis and I need some sort of adult supervision. But we have a super awesome guest for you today, Miss Vicky Sarakis. I hope I did that right. I tried to say the T right. From the Agonist joining us today, and we are super excited to have her here. And just before we get started, I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day and joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me and inviting me. I love doing podcasts. Podcasts are my favorite form of interviews happening right now. So it's super cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And so before we get started, for those who may not know who you are and what you do, because there are rocks and people do live under them sometimes. You want to just give like a brief nutshell version of who you are, what you do, where you came from, how you got here, all that jazz, but like the coconut shell version sized.
Okay, that's a tough one because my story is quite long and weird. But a nutshell, I'm a musician, mostly a vocalist, like you mentioned, for the Agonist and a bunch of other stuff. And at this point, I'm a full-time musician, making money off of my bands, my original music, doing covers, Twitch, lessons, anything and everything really. And yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm bad at describing what I do.
It's okay. None of us are any better at describing what we actually do. So I know it's probably the hardest question you get asked. But speaking of your covers, your cover of Vampira, I never got to like comment on it, but it's like one of my favorites of your covers. I love that
Thank
song and you
you.
did such a fantastic job. But you just mentioned Twitch and you just reached affiliate status. So super awesome on that. What has been your favorite thing about doing your Twitch channel?
Yeah, so first of all, partner status.
Oh, partner
I don't
status.
know if you know the difference. That's
Mhm.
why. It's like affiliate and then partner.
Oh,
And
sorry, partner
no,
status.
it's okay. I actually learning all the Twitch lingo has been a challenge, and to this day, I still don't know everything. And there's a lot of people that come out on the stream and they're like, "Am I doing this right?" Like it's really it's a whole different new world. But I love it. I love everything that Twitch has to offer for musicians and creators in general, and that like live time interaction, real time interaction with your fans and your community, which is just like it's unlike anything else, any other social media platform, and that's what I love about it. So I am streaming three days a week right now. I might consider doing it even more often. I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. And sorry, I don't know all the Twitch lingo. Despite doing Twitch myself, I don't know all the. I'm just kind of there. So,
Yeah,
um,
no, it's fine. That's totally
and
understandable.
yeah, and it's something that I see more and more musicians and artists doing as a way to connect to their fans on a whole new level.
Yeah.
And most of our audience is up and coming musicians, new musicians. So somebody who is considering starting in Twitch, what is some advice you might have for them?
Okay. See, this is a really tough one. I would say my number one advice, because it is a real time, like literally, like we have the interview right now, like my camera's there, my microphone's there. I can't go back and edit anything. I can't take my time to think about the things I'm going to say. So my number one advice is whatever you plan on doing content wise, make sure it's something that you enjoy and that represents you as a person first and foremost. Because I think that some people get into it and they kind of see what other people are doing that is making them successful and they try and replicate that. And it's really not for everyone. And because it's like a kind of like a reality TV show into your own life, though, and you're the main cast, the only cast, I think it's really important just be you and show people what you want to show, what you're passionate about, what you enjoy. Because if you're trying to play a part or you're trying to do something that you think is going to make you successful, but it's not necessarily what you enjoy doing, you're just going to give up right away. And yeah, just again, stay true to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something we cover a lot on this podcast is the importance of authenticity, be it in your music, in how you present your image, and obviously it translates over into your Twitch channel because if it's not authentic, one, you're going to give up, and two, people really aren't going to connect with you either because it'll
Yeah.
come off as fake or forced.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And that's the first most important thing. And the second most important thing is the type of content that you're going to put out. Make sure it's something that you already do in your daily routine because I mean most people start streaming as like a hobby and then maybe they enjoy it and it becomes like a full-time job, but it really takes a lot out of you. And when I stream, I go on the stream and I do things that I would do anyways in my
Mhm.
day. So like practicing vocals, recording. I just do it. I happen to do it with a camera and a microphone on and talking to people, but I don't do something that's outside of my schedule because then I wouldn't have time in my like we only have 24 hours. We have to sleep, we have to eat, we have to go on walks, you know. So I make sure to do things that I would do anyways, and the only difference is that I'm doing it to an audience.
Definitely.
Makes
And then
sense.
I think Aaliyah, if Curtis doesn't have a follow-up, which I'm sure he does because he always
Well,
does.
I do, but I realize it's on a different part that we're going to be talking about later on my own question. So I'm going to wait and I'll let Aaliyah go.
Aaliyah,
All
are
right.
you?
Huh?
Oh, no, you're not on mute. Okay.
Yeah, I was on mute though. I was. So now I'm not. But yeah, I would like to go into being on Twitch is kind of part of this paradigm of being a full-time musician in the modern world. And I wanted to ask, how long have you been full-time in music?
Like full time in the sense of making decent income off of it because I've been full time for a while, but actually
Yes.
earning enough to sustain myself, I would say the last 2 years,
What,
which is funny.
well, how did that come about?
um,
What do you think
it
was the
was
catalyst?
it was basically the pandemic happening, and I think that was just for me, that was just motivation to do a lot of the things that I was planning on doing anyways, because I knew that I would be home for a very long time. Like to give you an idea, in 2019, um because I come and go all the time, traveling for tours, for band practices, for all this different stuff. So to give you an idea, in 2019, I probably spent a total of 4 to 5 months at home. The rest of the year I was out doing things. So I'm that type of person that I just overthink things, super perfectionist. If everything is not thought out and planned to a T, even though I know that that plan is going to change, I have difficulty, you know, launching something. So I would just for many years I would think about, you know, I want to start streaming, I want to create a Patreon, for example, I want to give people vocal lessons. I wanted to do all these things, but I would always hold my own self back by thinking, okay, you can't start doing this and then in 1 month you're going to leave on tour, and what's the point? So as soon as the pandemic started and we had a canceled tour and I came home, I kind of knew right away that it was going to be a pretty long thing, that I was going to be home for a while. I wasn't as positive as some people were that, you know, by the summer it's going to be fine. Like, I'm like, no, it's not. This is a global pandemic. So I felt like now or never. And that's when I just started doing everything all at once. Not all at once. I took my time, like one thing at a time, but it just became full-time music, but times 10. So yeah, it was, it's funny to think that one thing that was taken away from you in a sense, like you can't go out and you can't tour anymore, you can't play shows, was the reason, or not the reason, but one of the reasons, I guess, that I was able to do other things that are still music oriented. Um, yeah, I don't know.
For sure. And how did you, I mean, you've been we'll say you wear a lot of hats. It's one of our favorite phrases here. And so how did you decide which direction to go in first?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think the first thing I did in terms of community and social media was launching my Patreon. And I think that was like the safe thing to do. I played it safe in a sense that if people aren't familiar with Patreon, Patreon is like a subscription based platform. So basically, you cannot see a creator's content unless you create an account and you link your credit card and you subscribe and you pay your monthly fee. So it's a little bit of a safe choice in that not a lot of people are going to go through all that trouble unless they do genuinely want to support you. So you have a smaller, more tight-knit community of your biggest fans and followers instead of, Twitch or other social media where you can literally put anything and you get all the trolls and all the haters and, it's open to everyone. So I started with Patreon just to see, I didn't know what it was going to be. And after about 6 months or so, I realized that I just really want to be streaming because I'm the type of person that I obsess too much about things and planning and editing and all this, where it's just like I just want to remove that out of the equation. I want to be able to do the things I love real time and connect with people, and that's what streaming gives you. That's what Twitch gives you. So, but the fact that I decided to do my Patreon first and then move over to Twitch was a big help because I could take that small tight-knit community and bring it onto another platform. Whereas the other way around might have been a little bit too like, I don't know, like falling off a cliff and okay, now you need to learn how to fly,
Yeah. I think that's really, really a wise strategy. And I applaud you for that. And finally, I wanted to ask you how you got into voiceover work, because I saw that you're doing voiceover work for Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
So
that's correct.
yeah, how'd you do that? How'd you get into that?
Well, it was through a mutual friend. There's this team of voice actors from Montreal, Canada. That's where the Agonist is from as well. And it's a bunch of metal vocalists from the local scene all together, called the Monster Factory. And they've done, mostly creature voices, aliens, zombies, all that weird stuff, because like metal vocalists were known for being able to create weird sounds with our voices. So they've been around as a unit. I don't know how long, 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. And they were looking for a few English speaking people to add to their team. So I auditioned. They offered me an audition. I had no idea what I was auditioning for. And I got the part. I can't say too much more on that, unfortunately, as to what I'm doing, but it really is like small roles, creatures, aliens, and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just an opportunity that I got, and I auditioned for it, and I got the part, and it was really fun to do because I am a gamer too. I was a gamer before I became a musician, so I think this was like, I'm hoping this was just like the beginning to doing more of that type of work.
Cool.
Cool.
Aaliyah, are you done on that, or?
I think we're going to transition. Yeah, go ahead, Curtis, and talk about it.
Cool. Didn't want to interrupt you. So, Vicky, we're going to talk a little bit about the album promo, EP promo, rather. So, can you kind of shed some light on why you guys decided to do an EP this time instead of a full album?
I did, yes. I've said there's many reasons for that. Yeah.
Cool. But what like, you want to go in depth on it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We didn't, to be completely honest, I don't think it matters. I think we've reached a point in the industry right now where it's like you can literally do anything. The standard formula of how an artist releases music is long gone, I think. You have people doing full lengths, you have people doing EPs, you have people doing singles only. especially in like the hip hop world or the pop world, it was just singles only. I really think, you know, some would argue that a full length is better because it puts you on the map more, so you can get nominated for awards and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? I think people's attention span has severely reduced, and I'd rather give them 4 or 5 songs that they can listen to and want to listen to it over and over again, instead of giving them a 12, 13 album, track album that, you know, anything that's towards the end of the album is going to get overlooked a little bit. Um, and yeah, that those weren't the main reasons that we decided to do that. It's just kind of like the justification of why it's okay to do that. In all honesty, why we did an EP was just we had the songs, they sounded good together, and we didn't feel a need to add to it.
Perfect reasoning. Cool.
Yeah.
So how has the promo been for the EP versus your last album? Like different, has it been different, or like what's the differences?
I think this time around, I think we've gotten, at least I've gotten more work on the promo, more interview opportunities for sure, and I think more exposure despite it being an EP. Although there has been, I don't know, I feel like there is a little bit of a discrimination happening, at least in the metal industry, against EPs and singles. I think they tend to get, I don't know, frowned upon. Like I'll see this often, like why not a full length, you know? And then there's a lot of people that you release a full length and then they just only listen to the singles. So I think the metal world needs to catch up a little bit with what the rest of the music industry is doing. But I think despite all that, I think there was a lot of promo going into it, a lot of interview opportunities. For the first time ever since releasing music, when we ask fans, you know, what are your favorite songs or favorite song, I'm not seeing one answer or 2 answers. I'm seeing a pretty divided response. And a lot of people saying I can't choose a favorite. So I think that's super cool. That means that we created something really strong and really cohesive that people are liking.
Cool. What's your own thoughts on the singles and EPs versus full length, out of curiosity? Your own
Yeah,
person.
so I'm a musician. I'm a lover of music. I love listening to an album from the beginning to an end in its entirety, especially when it's like you can tell there's a story behind it, either because it's a concept album or if it's not a concept, it was just constructed in a way where it flows really well from beginning to end.
Yeah.
That being said, I really think I'm a minority here. I don't think people do that anymore. And it's not just what I think. You can see it in the numbers. You can see it in the data for any release in any genre of music. Bands' singles could have millions and millions of plays, and then the B-sides, or you know, songs that didn't get a music video or stuff like that, or they're not being played live, just don't have as many plays. So I really think that that romantic approach of wanting to listen to an album from beginning to end is really something that few people are doing nowadays.
Fair. Yeah, it seems to be a hot topic nowadays on the whole thing. So
Yeah.
do either of you two have a follow-up on the singles before I get to the next one? No? Okay, cool. Cool. So the last question I have personally, before we get back to Aaliyah, is just about your videos. Can you kind of go over the process of how the Agonist makes videos, please?
Sure. It's a very, very personal, tight-knit process because our videos are done by our bassist, Chris Kells. He's also a videographer. So really, it's just the initial process is just me and him bouncing ideas because I'm the main lyricist in the band, or even if, you know, sometimes I haven't written the lyrics in the band, I've taken them and I've created my own vision with them. So he always just comes up to me and he's like, okay, what do you see for this music video storyline wise? Or he has questions about certain lyrics and what they meant. And we create a vision based on the lyrics. and based on what kind of imagery we're going for, trying to find locations that fit the vibe and all that. And then we just, yeah, we go back and forth, we balance it out, we figure out a budget. Can we do this on a smaller budget? Because we're not one of those bands that can spend, 20, 30 grand on a music video. And we'd rather put out more music videos on a release instead of, putting it all on one song, because we want all of our music to get noticed. So that's basically it. We keep it within the band, and then he has a team of people that he works with for like lights and sometimes a makeup artist and stuff like that. And yeah, and we bring the vision to life.
So I think unless we have any other follow-up questions for Vicky, we're going to be going on to the next section, which is the vocals. Corey, did you have anything before Aaliyah gets onto that?
Oh, no. Vicky is you're being super thorough and helpful. So
Cool.
It actually doesn't leave much room for follow-up.
I talk a lot,
It's
and maybe this is
perfect,
why I like podcasts, because
We appreciate that.
thanks. I really hate doing written interviews, because I feel like I can't trail off, I can't start from this one question that you asked me and go through like 10 different ones before I come back.
Perfect.
It is perfect. I'm gonna ask you something. I think I heard on the Elevate-Sphere interview you did with Fabienne that you had only been doing harsh vocals for 6 months before you joined the Agonist.
Yeah, that's true.
Insane. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience, getting started with the Agonist, and did you feel ready when they asked you to join, or did you just say yes, knowing you needed to say yes?
The second, I was not ready. I don't even know why they took a big risk, in getting me to do the job. They could have found a vocalist that was doing it longer, that had played shows, that had some kind of experience. But I think it was really just my singing. They really liked my singing and my songwriting, and I guess maybe a little bit of what they saw from me as a person as well, because that's also really important. But yeah, like in terms of harsh vocals, I was definitely not ready. And I yeah, I could have said no, and I think, a lot of people might have said no in fear of, can I do this or can I not do it? But I think I said yes, and after that it was like sink or swim. You're gonna figure out how to do it. You just need to figure out how to do it faster, because you have shows and a new album to write and this and that. And I put myself in this high pressure situation, I guess, which I was willing to do at the time, because I was looking for that. I was looking for a band or other individuals to work with that wanted to, be like, let's go, go, go. Let's write music. Let's tour. Let's write more music. Let's tour. Let's do music videos. Let's do this. Like, let's just do music. So as soon as that opportunity came, I would have been, I don't know, an idiot if I said no. So yeah, I figured it out.
You sure did. And I mean, I can hear the difference from when you first joined to now. But
Yeah.
you have such vast talents vocally in all different styles, from classical to power style, whatever the classification is for like metal vocals and the growls. How have you developed each style of singing?
Thank you. Thank you so much for understanding too that there's so many different, this is a big problem I find in the metal industry, not industry, but metal fans in general. They're like, there's the screams, there's the harsh vocals, and the cleans, and they like to like, put them in these two categories. And I'm like, but there's so many like subcategories and variations, and all those, like, those are two just very general things, so thanks for understanding that there's many different techniques and all that. And how I've managed to do it, I think it's just I have an ear for things. Like, everything I've learned how to do vocally is through imitation. And this is also why I love voice acting, because voice acting is that, it's hearing something and then learning how to do it with your voice. And for everything that I've done vocally, I am self-trained, except for maybe like the classical vocals, operatic style of singing, where I did take a year of lessons. And then I quit because I didn't want that to be like my main vocal style. I'm like, okay, I learned how to do this. Let's move on. But yeah, through imitation and through understanding afterwards that when you're doing something, it needs to feel comfortable. And the sensations for all these different types of vocals are very different, and they hit you differently, they resonate differently. Some of them are very loud, some of them are very quiet, and understanding that and listening to your body, in the sense that if it's hurting you, if I don't know, it's really difficult for you to do for an hour long, you're probably doing it wrong. You need to figure out a different way. Trial and error, basically, and just a lot of experimentation.
Yeah, and I think that kind of plays into why you said at one point that rather than trying to mimic specific vocalists, you try to listen to the technique of how certain genres of voices are done. Can you talk a little bit about how you can read that from just listening?
Okay, because there's this thing that I think is not talked about too much about vocals, and I think it's the term inflection. I think it's really important to listen to other vocalists or singers or whatever inflection rather than their technique. So I get a lot of people saying, I want to learn how to scream like so and so or sing like so and so. And if you want to learn how to do that, you just need to pay attention to their inflection. So maybe I should clarify what that is, that I'm just realizing maybe not everyone knows what inflection means. Yeah, so inflection is basically how you modulate from one note to another or within the same note. It has nothing to do with your color or your tone or how you enunciate. Those are all different things. But I think that is the main thing. So you're like, okay, for example, if you want to learn how to sing like Bruce Dickinson, listen to his enunciation. That too, he enunciates really well, but his inflection. And that's something that I've done. So it's like I can sing like Bruce Dickinson without sounding like Bruce Dickinson. Because as soon as you go into that, oh, I'm mimicking his tone and his color, then you become a copycat. Then you lose what your voice is, who you sound like, and you just sound like X singer wannabe or whatever. So I think the trick is yeah, like I said, listening to someone's inflection, how they enunciate perhaps, and stuff like that, but never their color or their tone, unless your goal is to be in a cover band covering said singer, then that's fine.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense, and I think it's something important because a lot of people can, like you said, lose their voices or like their vocal identity, and also their voices like through injury. But
yeah.
So one thing I'd forgotten to ask you about earlier is talking about the dynamic about being in a band in a different country, and you kind of have roots in 3 different places.
Yeah.
And talk about can you like share a little bit about how you manage to be rooted and still, take action and work with people across country lines.
Yeah. Well, I think because of that, I think I was like super prepared as soon as the pandemic happened. Because it's like, well, I've been training my whole life for this. I've been doing everything remotely anyways. And I think since 2010 and later, a lot of bands realized that I can just have a basic home studio setup and I can do my demos and send them to said band member that lives in a different city, and they can do their own demos and send it back, file sharing and stuff like that. So with the Agonist, for example, we've been doing that since I first joined the band. So we were prepared. Nothing like for this EP, nothing was done differently in that sense. I recorded my demos at home. We fine-tuned the songs to a point where it's like we know exactly what we want before we go into a studio to record. And for example, when I go to the studio to record my final vocals, I bring my demo project with me on my laptop next to me, and I have all my tracks. And as soon as I record a specific track, I mute it on my project. So I know it's like this part's done, this part has yet to be done. And it's like so organized that you can just focus on your performance and not need to worry about like, oh, did I do all the vocals that I wanted to do, and stuff like that. So trailed off a little bit, but going back, yeah, I've just been doing it all my life. That I think I was just super prepared for the pandemic. And I will say that there's a little bit of nostalgia. There's that nice feeling that when you're with other people playing music in the same room, that it feels really, really cool. But in order to write music and like lyrics and vocals and stuff like that from scratch, I'm much more of a loner. So it works for me because I really don't like it when I'm in my own head and I'm thinking about what to do, having someone come at me and be like, why don't you try this? It completely throws me off. Even if it's like a great idea, I'd rather get that idea after putting my own ideas down. Because it's really important for me to write the words and sing the melodies that I want to do as an artist, first and foremost. And if maybe I'm having a hard time with a song or a specific riff, or the ideas that I'm thinking of aren't that crazy and I'm not married to them, then I'll reach out to other people and be like, hey, do you have a better idea here? But I want to have that alone time for myself.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a final question for you. And
Sure.
I think the final question as well. So basically, I just want to know if you have any tips for like when you're, obviously it's probably not much of a thing right now for when people are on tour in order to maximize their health while they're on tour without getting totally drained or anything.
Yeah, it's a balance. Balance is key for sure. If you want to like watch your health, especially as a vocalist, because we are the first, like our instrument is the first to be damaged if we're like sick or tired or whatever. Like a drummer or a guitar player, they can pull it off even if they're sick. But I think with us, it's super noticeable. So I think balance. I will say that it is important when you go on tour to have fun and to socialize and have a drink if you drink and talk to people, because you can't live the complete hermit life. You're going to be miserable on tour. You have to have fun, but you got to balance it out and make sure like you don't stay up until 6 or 7 in the morning yelling and pounding shots and then expect to play for an hour and a half the next day and do that 30 days in a row. No one's body can take that. So, maybe schedule your fun. Be like, okay, tomorrow we have a day off. I can go a little bit crazier tonight and I'll sleep it off the next day. Or weather is super important too. Sometimes you're on tour and let's say you're playing Seattle one day and it's super cold, and then you drive all the way down to Los Angeles and it's super warm. And those like extreme temperature changes can like, make you sick basically. So just be careful of that. And diet, super important. I will say it depends what age you are too. If you're still in your 20s, I think you can get away with a lot of stuff. As soon as you pass the 30 mark, you're like, oh man, my body can't do this anymore. I gotta take it slow. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and
So
appropriately coming off of that question or that comment,
Yeah.
McDonald's or Wendy's?
Oh, wow. Wendy's. Yeah. I don't do either that often, but if I have to choose, Wendy's. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Wendy's feels a little healthier, honestly.
It does. It feels, I don't know that it is, but
Right.
it does. I do agree with you that it does feel that way for sure.
The only
Cool.
correct answer is Taco Bell.
That I've actually heard Taco Bell's the worst.
It's
I can't
terrible.
remember.
awful.
bad, but it holds a special
love
place in my heart.
I love Taco Bell too. I'm trash.
Nah, it's all good. We all have something that, you know what you're eating is garbage. At least acknowledge that. That's fine.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think we're out of questions, except for Corey, I think, has a final question, or does she?
Oh, no, I do. What is your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur?
Mhm.
Oh, well, it's got to be the T-Rex because they're so cute and they get so much like the meme with the hands and all that. And it's like, they're so cute. Probably not cute if I saw it in real life in front of me, but
Probably really less cute, yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Aaliyah, did you have any final questions before we wrap up for Vicky?
I think I have wrapped up my questions for now.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you very much, Vicky, for coming on. And with that, party on, Corey.
Party on, guys.
Party on.